Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Why does it feel like some women never stay? Why does she move on almost instantly? Why does it look like she just switches men like changing clothes? And the more you think about it, the more the same question burns you alive. Was it you? Because deep down, you've wondered this. You've replayed the conversations. You've replayed the chemistry. You've replayed the moments she said, "You're different. I've never met someone like you." And yet, she didn't stay. She drifted. She detached. She disappeared, as if you never existed. But here's the part no one tells you. Most men have no idea why it happened. They blame themselves, or they blame her. But the truth sits somewhere darker, somewhere deeper, somewhere almost no one is willing to talk about. Because the craziest part? Women don't jump because they're heartless. They jump because something inside them has been silently rewired. And once you understand that, you'll realize this was never personal. But don't relax yet, because if you think this is just about dating, you're dead wrong. This is about psychology, survival instincts, fear, validation, and a hidden pattern that's shaping modern relationships in ways you can't even see. So stay with me. The truth gets darker, much darker. Let's start with the truth nobody likes to admit. Women don't leave when they're unhappy. They leave when they lose hope. There's a switch in her mind that flips long before she ever walks away. A switch most men never see. She doesn't jump from man to man because she's chasing excitement. She jumps because she feels something missing, something she can't explain, something she believes the next man might give her. It's not always rational. It's emotional. It's subconscious. It's primal. And here's the twist. Men fall in love with the woman in front of them. Women fall in love with a story. If the story dies, her attachment dies with it. This is why you feel blindsided, because in your head, everything was fine, calm, normal, stable. But in her mind, she was already drifting, already imagining alternatives, already creating new possibilities long before you had a clue. And don't judge her yet, because this instinct isn't new. It's ancient. It comes from generations of survival behavior wired into her biology. You weren't competing with another man. You were competing with her own fear of settling for the wrong life. And when that fear grows louder than her love, she leaves. But here's where it gets really crazy. Most women don't leave for someone else. They leave towards something else. A different feeling, a different story, a different version of themselves. Here's the part that stings. We live in a world where validation is available at the speed of a swipe, and that changes everything. Because when a woman feels unseen at home, she doesn't sit alone with that feeling anymore. She has options. She has attention. She has 1,000 artificial sparks waiting in her pocket. A like, a comment, a message, a compliment. Tiny hits of dopamine that whisper dangerous thoughts. Like, maybe I deserve more. Maybe I could do better. Maybe someone else will love me differently. This is the trap, the loop. And here's the twist most men never understand. She's not addicted to men. She's addicted to the feeling men give her. The feeling of being chosen, wanted, admired, validated. Because once that feeling fades in a relationship, her mind goes searching for it elsewhere. Not out of cruelty, out of confusion, out of emotional hunger, out of fear of losing her worth. And this is where the jumping begins. Not physically at first, emotionally, mentally, digitally. The next man appears not because he's better, but because he's new. New feels like hope. New feels like possibility. New feels like relief from the emptiness she doesn't want to face. But here's the crazy part. This loop doesn't fill her. It drains her. And the more drained she feels, the faster she jumps.
Women rarely leave suddenly. They leave emotionally first, long before they leave physically. And when that moment arrives, she starts crafting a story that justifies the exit, a story that lets her sleep at night. It sounds like, he changed. I'm not happy. I deserve better. This isn't what I want anymore. But the truth is darker. She doesn't leave because you failed. She leaves because the fantasy she built no longer matches reality. Remember, men love through presence. Women love through imagination. When her imagination collapses, the relationship collapses with it. That's why her farewell feels cold, distant, almost robotic. But here's the twist. She's not cold. She's exhausted. She spent months convincing herself to walk away. She replayed every argument, every silence, every disappointment. She rewrote history in her mind until leaving felt like the only right choice. By the time she says it's not working, she's already miles away emotionally. She's already detached. She's already in transition mode. And this is where most men mistake the situation. They think she left for someone else, but she didn't. She left because she couldn't handle the emotional gap inside her anymore. But here comes the real twist. That gap doesn't disappear with the next man. It follows her. It grows. It waits. And eventually, it demands more. There's a fear inside many women that they rarely admit out loud. The fear of choosing wrong. Because for women, a relationship isn't just affection. It's identity, future, security, safety. So when she senses even the slightest mismatch, her mind starts panicking. What if this isn't it? What if I'm settling? What if I regret this later? And once that fear grows, she starts searching, not for a better man, but for a better feeling. A feeling that reassures her that she made the right choice. A feeling that tells her she's on the right path. When she doesn't find it, she jumps. And here's the twist. She's not running from you. She's running from uncertainty, from regret, from the possibility that she might be wasting her time. Men fear rejection. Women fear choosing wrong. And that fear is powerful enough to make her leap from one man to the next, hoping the next story will feel safer, will feel truer, will feel like home. But here's where everything collapses. She can't outrun her uncertainty because it doesn't live in men. It lives in her. And no matter how far she runs, she carries it with her. We don't live in the same world our parents lived in. Back then, you connected with the people around you, your town, your school, your community. Now, we live in an emotional marketplace with unlimited options, unlimited distractions, unlimited replacements. And here's the part that hurts. When people have too many choices, they trust their choices less. This is why she jumps, because each man becomes a comparison point, a reference. Maybe there's something better. And comparisons kill contentment every single time. That's why her loyalty feels fragile, not because she's disloyal, but because the world around her keeps whispering possibilities. He could be fun. He seems interesting. He treats her better. Maybe I'm missing out. This is not just her problem. This is the world's problem. A world where attention is currency, where validation is fuel, where commitment feels like a risk. But here's the twist. The more choices she has, the harder it becomes to bond deeply. Because real connection requires stillness, requires presence, requires choosing one person again and again and again. And in a world full of noise, stillness feels impossible. Which means unless she learns how to quiet the noise, she'll keep jumping again and again. Let's talk about dopamine, not the scientific version, the emotional version. The rush, the spark, the excitement of new. Because many women today aren't chasing love. They're chasing emotional highs. The thrill of being wanted, the excitement of attention, the butterflies of uncertainty. These highs feel like connection, but they're not. They're chemical illusions, short-lived, addictive, dangerous. And once she tastes that high, the calm comfort of a real relationship feels boring, too stable, too predictable. That's why she jumps. Not because you lack something, but because she craved the high more than the bond. It's not love she's chasing, it's intensity. That's why the next guy feels magical, electric, perfect, until he doesn't. Because when the high fades, the emptiness returns, the doubt returns, the craving returns. And so she jumps again, chasing a feeling that never lasts. Here's the twist. Emotional highs don't build relationships. Emotional stability does. But stability takes work and healing and self-awareness. 3 things most people today never develop because society keeps feeding them the lie that new is always better. But what happens when new becomes normal? When the highs stop working. That's when everything breaks.
Have you noticed something? She doesn't jump to better men. She jumps to familiar patterns. Patterns that repeat, patterns that hurt, patterns that feel like home, even when home was chaos. This is the psychological trap. We don't choose what's healthy, we choose what's familiar. So if she grew up with instability, she seeks instability. If she grew up with inconsistency, she seeks inconsistency. If she grew up feeling unworthy, she seeks men who confirm that feeling. This is why she keeps choosing similar men, even though she swears she wants something different. This is why she jumps, but never lands anywhere safe. And here's the crazy part. Every man she picks is a mirror of the wound she still hasn't healed. Until she faces that wound, she won't stop. She can't stop. Because she's not looking for a man. She's looking for a familiar feeling, even if that feeling destroys her. And if you've ever wondered why she left you for someone you know isn't right for her, this is
Faster.
why.
You
She's
must
chasing
go
a feeling
faster.
she doesn't understand,
You can't outrun
a feeling
your
she
past.
learned before she even knew what love was. And until she breaks that cycle, the jumping continues. Here's the part nobody shows on Instagram. The cost. Because jumping from man to man looks glamorous online, looks empowering, looks exciting, but the truth is brutal. Every jump weakens her ability to bond. Every jump makes her heart more guarded. Every jump makes trust harder, connection harder, intimacy harder. She thinks she's gaining freedom, but she's losing depth, losing softness, losing the ability to be present with one person. Because when you train your brain to always expect something better, you lose the ability to appreciate what's in front of you. And eventually, the highs fade, the excitement dies, the options shrink, and she's left with the one thing she was running from: herself, her fears, her insecurities, her patterns. Because no matter how far she jumps, she can't escape them. And here's the twist: the men she leaves move on, heal, grow, build lives. But she keeps running until the running becomes exhausting. And one day she realizes the truth. It wasn't the men. It was her wound, a wound she never stopped to face. So why do women jump from man to man? Not because they're heartless, not because they're manipulators, not because they're incapable of love, but because they're searching for certainty, for validation, for safety, for a feeling that finally tells them this is right. But they're searching in the wrong places, searching through people instead of through themselves. And here's the real truth: jumping isn't the problem. The unhealed wound behind the jumping is the problem. Until she faces that wound, until she heals that fear, until she stops outsourcing her worth, she'll keep running. But if you're listening right now, let me ask you something. Would you survive this cycle? Would you recognize these signs early? Would you walk away before becoming just another stop on someone else's emotional journey? Think about it. Because relationships today aren't about finding someone. They're about understanding someone, understanding their patterns, their triggers, their wounds. And if you want more breakdowns like this, more truth, more psychology, more raw human behavior, subscribe before you forget. The next video gets even darker.